Hey everyone, I'm Michael Bruce, CMO at Agent Moves, and welcome to our Good to Great series. We're all about sharing the amazing stories of top realtors and how they got there so we can help more realtors become great. So let's jump in today with our guest. It's Mike Montpetit. How did I do, Mike?
Fantastic. That's right on.
All right. I did have to ask with my name. No one would ever say my name right. And I count on that to try and work on, getting people's names right, but doesn't often happen. So, Mike, thanks so much for being here. And I love to introduce agents with things that are not related to real estate. You have so many, I don't even know where to start, but we'll start with loves group fitness. He's a Zumba dancing. Okay, we're going to talk about that for a minute. He owns a farm with his wife, about 21 and a half acres. They raise bees and some other stuff. He's a musician, plays trumpet and piano. I mean, I don't even know where to start with you, Mike, other than I'd want to kind of hang out with you. But let's talk about Zumba first. Tell me about Zumba dancing.
Well, first of all, it's great to be here. And as most of you know, if you've been a real estate agent, it takes a lot of energy to do this business. And to sustain it for 25 to 30 years consistently, go, 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 constantly be pouring out energy for other people, I need to have a cathartic release. And about 15 years ago, I discovered group fitness. One of my clients was a fitness instructor, and Zumba was just being born at the time. And the Zumba avatar for the whole corporation was in my marketplace. So I went to her classes and learned how to dance. Of course, I'm just a guy with not a whole lot of dancing rhythm from a big city where we didn't have a lot of Latin music. And I realized I just fell in love with it. And I was an instructor for 10 years, although I didn't really teach. Now I just go to a class once a week. The rest of the time is doing strength training.
Wow, such a great story. So unexpected. The issue of fitness, I think the way you've, talked about it, I think for all of us, I mean, people that don't work out, I don't get it. I don't know how you can go through. I mean, I'm like you, I try and go good 4 or 5 days a week. And when I don't, I feel it. But I don't get people. I have friends that don't exercise. I don't get it. So you are the other level. And I bow to you, Mike.
Well,
You're fabulous.
it's all about calendar integrity. So if you plug that in for 3 or 4 times a week, in my case, 4 times a week, then I work all my other appointments and schedules around that. And fortunately, I have a small team so they can cover for me when they know I can't answer the phone. And I don't bring my phone into the gym. It stays in the locker room.
Excellent. And I think it's the great flexibility, of being a real estate agent, right? There is that, your time is your time. Like you said, you calendar it out, you block it, but hey, you may have to give up some time on the weekends for open houses and so forth, but you gain it back with your flexibility during the week.
Yeah, when the phone rings or somebody needs help, it's always that decision. Do I want to continue doing what I am doing that's just fun and for myself or help somebody else? So like the shoemaker whose kids need shoes, sometimes we don't work on our own projects immediately because we're working for other people. But it's definitely a thrill. My wife also was in the business with me for a long time, and we just left a project where she's doing the building, designing. We have actually two reconstructions going on right now just for fun. So that's how we get our every aspect of real estate. I just love every piece of it.
Oh, that's beautiful. So let's talk about how you got involved, right? I know a little bit about where you're from, but tell us, how did this get started that you chose real estate with all of these, with your background?
Well, I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit called Grosse Pointe. So I was in the more modest section of this very affluent area off of a lake. And my cousins and grandfather and my own father and other people in my family were all involved in real estate. And what we did was we talked about that at a lot of family functions. There were a few that were into medicine, but we just enjoyed our family conversations about building, buying, selling, fixing up. And one of my cousins actually went on to be, extremely successful in the development and legal world in real estate. And the rest of us have, tried the retail side and just found our niches there. Some are in building, but I like it every day. And then I met, so surprisingly, my wife, who also came from a third generation real estate background. And now the two of us do this for fun for enjoyment. We thought our kids would go into it, but one went into advertising and the other one into financial planning. So as much as we tried, we still work with them on their properties and
Right.
talk about it a little bit.
Okay, so how do you go from, where you were in Michigan to, North Carolina? How do you get, were you started in real estate in Michigan or did it start in North Carolina?
We definitely started in Michigan. So my wife and I had a half dozen rental properties. I was a stay-home dad when my twins were 3 to 5 years old, which was the hardest and most rewarding job of my life. Absolutely loved it. So I stayed home while she went back to be a pharmacist because she said it was hard working. And I was on airplanes with IBM and Lexmark, and she said, if you keep traveling, I might not be here when you get home. So I'm like, okay, I'll stay home and watch the kids. How hard could that be? And it turns out I really enjoyed it. And then I could work from my own zip code. Um, as we started building up our portfolio, buying these $100,000 homes, we realized that there were other parts of the country where it was landlord friendly. The cost of living was a little bit lower. So we followed my little sister, who married a land acquisition manager for a Fortune 100 building company. And we talk about building. He was going to build homes and I was going to sell them. Well, he ended up building, but I chose not to join his company. Instead, I was having a lot of fun as a real estate agent and investor in a new area. So that's how we got into that.
Okay, so take us through those first couple of years. How did you come out? You leave, IBM, leave the corporate world, and now you're an agent. Tell us about those first 2, 3 years. How was it?
Well, as most people in real estate know, there is no safety net. You don't get a company car. You don't get all the benefits. We had my wife supporting us with her pharmacy income. As a pharmacist, she was doing very well. We had some savings. And every year I just took a lot of classes and education, continuous education and learning. And I was listening to a guy named Jim Rohn, who was the mentor for many great people, Brian Buffini, my real estate coach, and Tony Robbins. And Jim Rohn says, if you work on yourself, that's how your situation will change. So, being a lifelong learner, I took just about every class I could get, and then just learned different parts of the business and saw how people were doing it very successfully, and basically rode on their shoulders and made friends in those groups. Just kept doubling and rising and until I got to the point where I'm happy and I could take on more, but that involves expanding and getting more people to work. So when we got up to 8 people, I realized that was a lot of people, a lot of overhead. We were doing property management. And we decided to scale back in the last couple of years and pare it down to just 4 of us. And that's a very manageable size.
Yeah. Okay. Really interesting. So tell us about that as you were growing the business, some of the challenges you were facing, in your area. I'm sure like you get it kicked off. It's great. You had your wife, the second income, the kids. Outside of that, now, as you're trying to grow the business, what were some of the challenges you were facing?
With any business, there's challenges. It's basically running a business. Fortunately, I have a business background. I have an MBA in negotiation and purchasing. So I was a materials and logistics management major and finance. My second major was in marketing. So I learned that it's not necessarily the best real estate agent that wins, but it's the person who can best connect with people and help them solve their problems that wins. So I competed with some of the very good real estate agents in the neighborhood we lived in. We lived in a really nice neighborhood called Regency Communities with 650 homes. And I basically went to the swim meets, different events. I started the neighborhood directory, talked to a lot of the other parents. My wife did book club and a game called Bunko, which is popular here in the South. And we just basically partied our way up to the top by hosting events and getting to know people. And it was more natural rather than transactional. So we're more on the relationship side. The hardest part of the business is making friends with people and working with them for 3 or 4 months to get them moved into their new place. And then it's like you were just married and you got divorced. And so keeping up with everybody is probably the hardest part for us. But that's our friends now. I mean, now we're lifelong friends with a lot of these people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the consistency of follow up, I've talked about this. That seems to be, it runs across as much as every agent I've spoken to. I would say like their DNA is they like to help people, right? They love solving problems, but basically they're people pleasers, people helpers. Second thing I see consistent to everyone is the inability to consistently follow up. It's just the nature of the business. You get so busy, right? You get a couple of good listings in, all of a sudden you're cranking, and the marketing stuff and the communication and some of the things you should do, right? And it's everyone. It's every agent I've spoken to. And then all of a sudden, those couple of deals close, you're all happy, but where's the pipeline?
Yeah, that's the traditional dilemma, the entrepreneur's dilemma. You're busy working on the business so you can get more, so you can feed your family, but then you miss out on some family time, or you miss out on keeping in touch with the friends you already made, or you just don't block out time to connect with them. So I think that's one of the occupational hazards.
Yeah. You know what I'd love to hear about? You talked about, you grew this to about 8 people, right? Which is a good sized team for like a solo agent, basically, right? Independent. And then you decided to back down right? It's a lifestyle change, right? Everyone thinks just keep building, building more and more, right? No, it's not always like that. Tell us about like what happened at that point that you and your wife decided this is like, we don't want to get this thing to be 20 people. We want to come back down to 4. Tell us about that.
Well, essentially, we talked to our financial advisor, and he said, you guys can retire anytime you want. And I said, but I love doing this. Why would we? And she sang that song from U2, like with or without you. I'm retiring. I'm buying a farm because we named it Town and Country Realty because I'm a city boy.
Wait, that was your wife singing to you, you're saying?
My wife's singing to me, I'm retiring with or without you.
Okay. I love that.
So um, I said, we'll let her work on her hobby and what she wants to do, and I will support that every way I can. And so we bought a 21-acre farm out in the country for $143,000.
Wow.
Everybody told us we should tear it down. It was an 1876 house. It was very old house. Different parts of it were added on, and we resuscitated it. So she just got her joy out of bringing that back to life. And now it's an agritourism business with bees. We have an event space. Our daughter, she was thinking about having her wedding there, but I don't think it can hold enough people. But we're definitely having other events there, booked up. And we just decided that we have other things in life to do rather than manage employees. And when it was 8 people, 4 of them were property managers. So that didn't really count towards production. It was mostly a feeder to help my buyer specialist. I do all the listings, and my buyer agent for the last 12 years has worked with most of the buyers. And it was a tool to give him a one-stop shop for our clients that have extra money, mostly technology people, some local, some from all over the country. And they say, we want to buy rental homes in Cary, Apex, Morrisville, Raleigh, Durham, Wake Forest, and we could help them get a good return on investment and build their portfolio as they get the tax write-off. So we basically help them build their wealth, and managing the rental homes was not as profitable as helping people buy and sell. So I've had multiple business coaches. Always had business coaches, and they said, do you really need that property management business? And so I researched how to sell your own business. I was going to hire a business broker, but I'm word of mouth, and doing what I do. I found another couple who took on the business. They grew from 24 doors to 130 doors pretty quickly, like overnight. And our agreement was to stay on board with them for 12 months, which we've already passed, and help out as consultants if needed. And so we're actually friends now to this day, and we still send them people, and they send business to us. So I think it's all about having partnerships and deciding how you want to spend your day.
Yeah.
Either one can be great.
Yeah. No, I think, this video series, right, is all about sharing wisdom and getting tips. And if people get one tip, one nugget from, each of these interviews, to me, it's a home run. And to me, here, yours, it's just really interesting. Again, everyone's, desire is to grow and be big and so forth. And there's that time where you need to take a look back at your life and see, what do I really want? What's going to make me happy? My spouse, my kids. And I don't see that many people reflecting that way and then making the move to be able to work against that and be as happy as you are. So I think that's a huge piece of advice that you've come, even if your wife made you do it, it's a good piece of advice.
Yeah. Well, another thing I observed is with these big teams. So I just received for the third year in a row top one of the three best agents in Cary, North Carolina, which I'm based on production, usually being the higher group there. Well, I can say the other two have groups of multiple buyer agents, multiple listing agents. I would like to ask them at our real producer event, like, how many of your clients have you actually sat down and had dinner with or met or been in their homes? It's like they're just booking somebody else's production under their name. So that's something the public doesn't necessarily understand. You could have a big name in real estate and say, oh, I have, hundreds and thousands. But if you don't get to meet any of them, it's really just, taking credit for someone else's homework.
Yeah, yeah. No, again, love the attitude, and talk about the learning, because that's the other element. I think that, again, experienced agents, that's who we're really talking to here. Even a lot of newbies, will watch these videos, but we're really focused. As Good to Great series is like, I'm doing well and I want to get to that next level. So as a lifelong learner, tell us about, that being like a focus of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not because you have to take classes. It's because you get to, learn from other people. And fortunately, our industry has some people that started mentoring and coaching me from the West Coast very early on, and they were very generous with their time. Some of the people that have retired by now, and well-known industry leaders have been super helpful. I started out in Star Power with Howard Brinton a long time ago, and that's where one of the first forums I saw where people actually shared what they would do. Whereas in my first office in Michigan, it was a Century 21 office. Everybody just kind of kept to themselves. They didn't share. And I'm like, no, teach me. It's just like if you're a musician, it's like, show me how you did that riff, or what, let's jam on this song together. Whereas real estate used to be kind of closed and keep their secrets. But I think what most professionals realize is that the pie is big enough for you could tell everything that you do, and they still probably wouldn't implement it or do it with your clients and your friends because you have a relationship. So that's why we do relationship business. But if there's a seminar, like last year, I went to multiple out of state seminars, and they were business trips, but also did a little sightseeing, visited friends in the cities, and had some fine meals in the interest of learning. So I recommend everybody do that.
Oh, that's just fabulous. And again, great tips, some really good stuff here, Mike. Really appreciate it. It's about sharing wisdom. I mean, that's what these interviews are about. And your point of, maybe in the early days, agents weren't like that. Today, it has to all be about sharing wisdom with your prospective customers. That's what's going to get them hooked with you, is just keep sharing. They're not going to do this themselves, right? But if they see the agent as the one that can just keep educating them, help them learn, you're going to be the agent that's chosen. So I love that, just as, part of your DNA, that you're a learner and sharer. I think, the people that you deal with have to really appreciate you.
Well, and it helps, like, just if you're in any profession, like if you want to be an airline pilot, you need 10,000 hours. So after you've done 10,000 hours of real estate and you know all the different things that can go wrong, even though it seems like we learn something new every week, but you learn most of them, and you have your utility belt with different solutions for different situations, and you adapt to whatever new regulations are coming out or whatever new forms are coming out. It makes you better prepared to say what needs to be said, and to give your client choices and help them do what's best for them, rather than just saying, I have one dialogue that I learned from this one class or my book, in training 101. That doesn't go off as well as having listening, basically listening and just trying to solve problems. So if you like solving problems, you'll do fine.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, you're obviously the soft skill of listening is not easy. I kind of think it's a hard thing to learn to be a good listener, but I think that is critical to, and I'm sure it was like critical to your success as well.
You're too complimentary. I appreciate it.
All
I'm
right.
just trying, doing my thing here, waking up a day at a time. I don't really compare myself to the other agents in the market or have a big board with a big office. I mean, I just work heads down working. Same with my other teammates. And then when we get notified, like, oh, you made it to this list, it's like, oh, great, thanks. We'll take the award and
That's right.
get the
Put it on
free
the wall.
meal. Yeah, put the cheese board on the wall. I don't even do that anymore.
Mike, thank you so much. I think some great tips here for people. Please follow Mike on social media. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. And again, Mike, until next time, really appreciate the time. And we're going to put you out there and share your wisdom with lots of agents.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the conversation. Take care.